Good morning. Do you ever hear of public shaming or public humiliation? According to Wikipedia, public humiliation or public shaming is a form of punishment whose main feature is dishonoring or disgracing a person, usually an offender or a prisoner, especially in a public place. It was regularly used as a form of judicially sanctioned punishment in previous centuries, and is still practiced in different means in the modern era. Public humiliation exists in many forms. In general, a criminal sentenced to one of the many forms of this punishment could be expected to be placed in a central public or open place so that his fellow citizens could easily witness the sentence and occasionally participate as a form of mob justice. Historical examples of this could be like sandwich boards, so and so. So really, it's like all about what's happening nowadays with social media. People are saying like, every person's like saying, well, my child did something bad, I'm gonna go post this on Facebook. That's exactly what we're talking about today. We're talking about public shaming and paying the price for it. Is it a good discipline tool, or is it just making kids act out more? So let's start by looking at the top 10 shamings of the internet that ruin people's lives. And you may be thinking about what I'm thinking. We're not trying to make people go out in the street to signs say, I hate girls, so and so, or free ass whoopings, whatever, but it really could happen. So yeah. So these are the top 10 shamings. This is the dog poop girl. In June 2005, a young woman with a small dog boarded the subway in South Korea. And someone during the trip, the dog decapitated on the floor of the subway. The owner of the dog made no attempt to clean it up, but when people told her to clean it up, she apparently got belligerent. Someone snapped a picture, and details of the account were posted on a number of popular internet forums. Within hours, personal information about the young woman and her family were being shared online. Anything that might have been true of her was posted. Taylor Chapman. This happened on June 2013. 27-year-old Taylor Chapman walked into a Dunkin' Donuts in Oak Cliff, Florida, armed with an iPhone. Chapman recorded herself berating two employees who were working there. Chapman says she was there the night before and didn't get her receipt. She said that as part of Dunkin' Donuts policy, she was entitled to free food due to the oversight. At first, she wants the whole menu before setting on what she apparently ordered the night before. Then, over the course of 8 minutes and 9 seconds, she berates two employees who aren't fairly nice. Even though Chapman launched into a vile tirade that involved threats of violence along with sexual and racial slurs. Paul Cristoforo. All of us had customer experiences at some point in our lives. I mean, all these videos happen. Adria Richards, March 2013, was attending a PyCon 2013. Two men originally pulled aside were men who made a joke, apologized, then did some big dongle joke. It was a sexual reference. That's sexual harassment right there. Melissa King. 18-year-old Melissa King was crowned Miss Teen Delaware. The winner of the state teen beauty pageant was an interesting sight over a small circle of people. King, who was put in foster care for her child, grew up fairly poor. When she did pageants, she made money with the website and saw it as another opportunity to use her looks to get ahead financially. That's a good sign. Michael Brutish. One of the great things about the internet is that people are given the world the greatest amount of free speech. I mean, it's so hard to say. You also got Justine Sacco. December 2013, then 30-year-old Justine Sacco was traveling from New York City to South Africa to meet family for the holidays. Along the trip, Sacco, who was the senior director of corporate communications at an American media internet company called ICA, composed 3 tweets for 170 followers. As she was taking off from New York, she tweeted, "Weird German dude, you're in first class. It's 2014. Get some deodorant." Inner monologue is, "I inhale BO. Thank God for pharmaceuticals." Then she was on the layover England in her tweet. "Chili, cucumber sandwiches, bad teeth, back in London." Finally, her last most offensive tweet was, "Going to Africa. I hope I don't get AIDS." Just kidding. I'm white. This job her phone. Sounds like she was racist. Lindsay Stone, co-worker identified as only as Jamie, had worked for a company called Life, living independently forever, for 18 months. Steve Bartman, happened back in 2003. And Monica Lewinsky is number 1 on the list. The Price of Shame. This was during the Bill Clinton scandal. When Monica Lewinsky was 21 years old, she became an unpaid intern with the Office of the Chief of Staff. In November 1995, she started a sexual affair with then President Bill Clinton. The affair first came to light back in January of 1998. Then in March 2015, she gave a highly popular TED Talk about public shaming as blood and sport needs to stop. But it has to stop yet. People have used social media. Imagine skipping school then your mother then the police had to make you sweep the streets. When we return, you're going to meet those kids who had a great lesson in skipping school with some officers involved. Please stay with us. If you just joined us, we're talking about public shaming or public humiliation. It's a form of punishment used by the courts. So far, we're focusing on the shamers on the internet or on social media. We may look at that one, just another one from a parent in just a minute. But imagine skipping school. As a kid, you skipped school. Then your mom comes out saying, "You skipped school? Officer, he skipped school. Oh, you want to skip school, huh? Get your broom and dustpans. We're going to go sweep." Okay, and then you start sweeping. I don't have a sweeping motion. Or they make you mop the kitchen. I'd imagine doing that naked. You got mop the kitchen floor, mop the kitchen floor, mop the kitchen floor. Or make the bed naked. I'm getting too TMI. I'm getting too R-rated here. You cheap pop get the picture here. These boys you're about to meet, Bobby didn't learn a lesson. Take a look.
Smile. Show everybody this is what happens when we skip school.
Richard Ludley Jr. is Shannon Haswell's 12-year-old son. She approved of the public discipline and some of her own.
Oh no, you're punished off the bike for 2 weeks. Everything's gone. No Xbox, no bicycle, all gone.
Richard and his friend Corey Myers were sweeping the streets of Ambridge today. They skipped school, but both wound up getting a lesson in obedience, and it drew lots of attention.
Did you learn your lesson? Matthew?
Donated by the police department, the boys went out armed with brooms, dustpans, and T-shirts declaring their disobedience under police supervision.
I figured instead of sending them home to watch TV because they're both suspended from school, I figured we'd come out here and clean the street a little bit.
They asked if I felt this was appropriate, and yes, I do.
Don't bother digging through the bushes. Just take
In fact, it was Shannon who called police after learning her son never made it to school. Officers found the boys about mid-morning near an abandoned building. Have you learned a lesson today?
Yeah,
What is it?
not to skip school anymore.
What about you, Corey?
Not to skip school anymore.
A break in the action for lunch for these two 12-year-olds while they have a heart-to-heart talk with Ambridge officer Mike Natale about why it's never a good idea to skip school.
In-school suspension does nothing for kids. Right now, they're more embarrassed than anything.
In Ambridge, Alan Jennings, Channel 11 News.
Well, Alan broke this news early on our Facebook page, and boy, it is filling up with comments on this one. Shannon says, "I think this is an awesome punishment. Education is important. But Chrissy says humiliation is never a proper punishment. All it does is make children act out more. Like us on Facebook and join the conversation.
I gotta give my take on this. Let me tell you guys around here. Let me tell you guys something. I may not approve of public discipline, but sandwich boards on the sandwich boards wearing on you saying that I hit girls. I know it's not. I know it's not a joke, but if I was out there on a sandwich board saying, "Did you learn your lesson?" Yeah. And then just take it off. I mean, with this mother doing the public discipline, I really think it's a good idea, but there's a price to pay for it. Whenever you're disciplining kids, you're teaching them right from wrong. Discipline does not mean you go outside with a broom and dustpan and go sweep the floor. It basically means you're teaching kids what's right and what's wrong. Because when they're out in the community, whatever, they're trying to learn that. They try to observe it, and they're saying, "Oh, he punched the guy. That's wrong. Oh, he's playing music for tips. That's good. That's good." And so, to really grasp the situation here, you really have to look back on what's been going on. But now that we've weighed in on the skipping school part, let's hear what an expert has to say about public shaming.
This whole idea of social shaming, it's a big deal. While we're talking about public embarrassment as discipline, look at this pic. This went viral recently in the news. It's of a Michigan dad who, after learning his 4-year-old son was hitting female classmates at school, wrote, "I hit little girls" on this poster board, and he had to stand on the side of a busy street for an hour. I'm assuming by your reaction, again, this is public shaming, just isn't a good
And I know you're going to be with me on this one. I know it. Yeah, look, 4-year-old boys are not known for their impulse control. And typically when they're hitting and acting out, they don't have the words to express what they want. They don't have the impulse control. What you want to do is get to the bottom of the problem. Why is this kid acting out? Why, if you have an 8-year-old who's aggressive, what is going on in the home, at school? What's going on with this
I
kid
think even in this
psychologically?
4-year-old kid, when a kid is hitting, yes, they don't have the words, but they've seen that somewhere as a means of solving a problem. And I worry about what's going on in that home.
Yeah, although
And
at that age, it's often just it's still playful play.
Totally, they don't fully understand.
They don't get it. So communicating that, hey, that hurts, and
There's right away, there's stalking when you're, you know.
So, can we all agree that public shaming, less than ideal? Obviously, parenting requires discipline. It requires conversations. It requires dialogue. But that dialogue, in most cases, should stay within the home. In most cases, and obviously, it all begins with a dialogue with your kids. Hey, I'm Dr. Travis.
It all begins with the kids. That's right. That's how it all begins. It begins with the kids. But try to imagine, as a father, you're shaming your son on social media. Then you turn the tables on the shamers who shame their kids in public. When we come back, you're going to meet a father who took on public shaming of kid as punishment, but then he turned the tables on those shamers. Stay with us. Not meet a father who punished his son by shaving his head, but turns the tables on you, the shamers. Take a look.
I'm here to teach my son a lesson.
On the surface, Wayman Gresham may look like any other parent taking to social media to discipline his teen.
So this is to give my son Isaiah a bald head messed up haircut challenge because I'm not happy with him.
With 19 million views, his video is going viral. But watch as this dad turns the tables on moms and dads who use public shaming as a form of punishment.
Wait a minute. Here, come here. Come here. There's no way in the world I would ever embarrass my son like that.
In fact, the father of 4 says his son Isaiah didn't do anything wrong. but was helping him to get a message out to other parents.
Good parenting is showing them the way by example.
Gresham, an educator at a magnet school in Fort Lauderdale, says he made the video in response to a recent trend of some parents using social media to chastise their kids.
I run across a post on your Facebook page that you didn't think I'd be able to see. I'm gonna put a stop to it. And I'm gonna put a stop to it right now. Now, Mel.
Say bye, Facebook.
I hope that it's something that will stick and people will remember that, hey, you know, there's another way of reaching this child.
While those parents have defended their actions, parenting experts say you should think twice before turning to social shaming.
It's not a good idea to publicly shame your children on social media because once you put something out on Facebook, it's out there forever.
Gresham says he is happy with the results of his viral video.
I hope it brings awareness to people.
As for Isaiah, he just had a good time making the video with his dad.
I had fun because I can just be myself.
And Wayman had one more message for everybody. Posting on Twitter, he's not saying he doesn't punish his kids, but when he does, it's a private matter.
Amen to that.
Yeah,
Sounds like a very good dad, and his son, you can tell.
Sure does.
I really hope it does, and I hope this episode of Public Shaming can really help shine a light on you parents out there that are public shaming your kids. Enough is enough. There are other discipline tools out there. You have time out. You have privilege, taken away a privilege. Reprimand in a strong voice. It's gonna work, they say. But you just have to keep doing it, and then you'll probably get the message here. But if you look at public humiliation on social media like this, because public humiliation is just wrong. Or just look at public humiliation. I'm not going to show you that clip because that can get me struck. That can give me a copyright. That can get this video blocked. But how does it affect the kids? Let's watch.
All right,
because we know from experts how it affects the kids in some way, and the father understood that by not shaving his head. But how else does it affect the kids? In other ways? Let's watch.
We are talking about parenting. There's a new trend that's happening right now, public shaming. I'm sure you've heard about this. It's been in the news for several weeks now, actually the last week. So we've seen these. Okay, so for example, the reason why this Utah dad decided to put on these short shorts, wearing that shirt, best dad ever on a night out, was because his daughter was scantily clad, his teen daughter. So he thought, let's teach her a lesson, right? Okay, we've also seen this one came out a couple weeks ago. A kid that started apparently picked a fight at school. He's 8 years old. His mom made him stand in front of the school with that sign saying, I picked a fight at school because I'm a bully. That, of course, went viral. Now, we have the latest one. And this one is 4 One Direction tickets. You know, the girls go crazy for One Direction.
Absolutely. I can't believe this one. This one's a tough one to swallow.
That's right. Mom decided she was going to sell the tickets on eBay. You can see some of the things. She says, you can thank my daughter's self-righteous and lippy attitude. You may hate me now, but I don't care. It's my job to raise responsible child, adults.
It's tough.
And this is now going viral.
Now, let's bring in our expert advice, shall we? Want to introduce Corinne Ewart from Today's Parent. Welcome to the Five.
Thank you.
Are you looking at those pictures like us and are kind of shocked with them?
Well, you know, social media is now giving parents a new tool, some would say. Others would say a weapon. You know, this is something that people are using to publicly shame their children, and shaming hurts. You know, labeling and shaming our children in this public forum is actually really detrimental. You know, we're supposed to be role models. We're supposed to be supporting and teaching our children how to behave. And some of the behavior we're seeing by some of these parents would not necessarily fall into those categories, right?
Never.
You know, I compare this to, every parent is tempted when their 2-year-old child is having a temper tantrum to throw themselves on the floor and have a temper tantrum as well. But we know that it's not going to teach them the proper behavior. And the same thing is sort of happening now. Not to mention, no teenager overnight becomes lippy or has a bad attitude, so having these sort of grand gestures to try to solve the problem, where the parents aren't actually addressing the problem at hand, of course.
Would this have a long-term effect? Let's say it's a teenager, they get this posted, it's going viral, then they get made fun of at school for it. What is the longer-term effect of this?
Imagine your most precious loved one publicly shaming you. Imagine what that would feel like, and that's what these parents are doing. So, it's got that immediate effect, and of course the long-term effect is they're not actually teaching their children how to behave appropriately. So the long-term effect is they're actually not learning how to be good citizens, which is really what we should be doing.
And this is really the 2013 version of scaring your kids to death, right? It used to be the belt hanging on the kitchen door,
Wooden
right?
stick.
Or
Right.
a wooden stick in the drawer or something. This is just, look at this. This is the scariest.
You have to remember, too, that we all know the experts say that the wooden spoon and the belt and those techniques didn't work either as far as teaching our children how to behave.
I always knew it was there. I always knew it was there.
So, I mean, to summarize it, then what do you do to teach your kids? This is not a quick fix.
No, the best thing to do is to give your kids options ahead of time. For example, if they're using language that you don't think is appropriate, if they're dressing in a way that is inappropriate to your standards, you teach them what your standards are, and then you say, if you're going to choose to continue to dress this way, here are the consequences. So they can make, right? They can, well, we don't want them to do that.
Oh, yeah.
But they can be a part of the conversation. They can be a part of the decision making. They will know what is ahead if they make that bad choice.
Okay, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So yeah, there are a bunch of videos out there that talk about this public humiliation like we talked about. How about this one? Last year, an LA sheriff gets public humiliated by a crowd. A cop gets put on blast when we return. Stay with us. Now take a look at a viral video clip in LA. In LA, a sheriff gets publicly humiliated. We saw it happen to kids. But what about the police?
See what, Alex? You're a piece of... I hope you know that. I hope you rest well if I know you're a piece of...
Folks, in case you're not aware of it, that's called the White People's City Council.
Okay, what about black people then? What about black people, Alex? You're not welcome in Skid Row. You're not welcome in Skid Row, you bandito. You bandito with your stupid ass cowboy hat. That's number one. Yeah, give me the second warning. That's the second warning. You're not welcome here in Skid Row. Don't talk about paid activists when you're a millionaire.
This is Los Angeles County Sheriff Alex Villanueva, a frequent guest on Sean Hannity and alt-right network Fox News.
And you can tell we can get busy working together, or we can just spend a lot of time being paid to be an activist and young.
Speaking of being busy, Alex, you said you're too busy to respond to subpoenas of the oversight committee, yet you're here, running for sheriff. Why you come to campaign events so you can't go to what you subpoena?
Activists in Los Angeles confronted Sheriff Villanueva, but that's not the only reason he's in the news. Vanessa Bryant has battled Villanueva over their mishandling of the crash site involving her husband Kobe, daughter Gigi, and the 9 lives in total that perished that day. The reason?
In the lawsuit, Bryant alleges deputies Joey Cruz, Rafael Mejia, Michael Russell, and Raul Versales shared photos of the helicopter crash.
One deputy in particular took between 25 and 100 photos of the crash scene on his personal cell phone.
Inhumane is an understatement. Even cruel doesn't do it justice. These sheriffs acted in the most pathetic and inhumane of ways. They took photos of the just deceased bodies and sent them amongst one another. In her deposition, Vanessa Bryant, who lost her husband and daughter, allegedly said the following to Villanueva: "If you can't bring my husband and baby back, please make sure that no one takes photographs of them. Please secure the area," Vanessa said. And he said, "I will." And I said, "No, I need you to get on the phone right now, and I need you to make sure you secure the area." Villanueva didn't. And those who responded to the scene spread them amongst one another, even showing them at a local bar for what we have to think is clout chasing. Per the lawsuit, the officer was seen on the bar's security cameras zooming in and out of the images while displaying them to the bartender. Per NBC News, Villanueva ordered the photos be deleted from those that took them at the crash site. One might think, not just the crash, the loss of 2 loved ones, but the sheriff's malfeasance And barbaric ways could leave a lasting impact on Vanessa, right? Well, the county tried forcing Vanessa to turn over therapy records dating all the way back to 2010, a decade before her husband's death, as evidence of her mental state. The judge ruled that Bryant only had to turn over records as far back as 2017 and had previously denied a defense attempt to force Bryant to undergo a mental evaluation. There is another issue, however.
Since the 1970s, there have been at least 18 gangs within the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and they continue to brutalize and even murder community members today. Let's do a quick run through of the gangs of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. All of them have stuff in common. You usually have official gang tattoos, a hand signal, and a way to join, usually by shooting or killing a civilian or doing something like falsifying paperwork. These are just a few of the gangs operating within the LA Sheriff's Department.
In Vanessa's lawsuit, lawyer Vincent Miller, who represents several of the whistleblowing cops in the separate lawsuit filed against the department, told The Sun that leaking photos is part of the culture at the LASD. There's deputies who like to snap pictures of grisly murders and dead bodies and pass it around to each other. And then Kobe's a celebrity. So just based on that, it didn't shock me. It's disgusting, obviously. It's horrifying, Miller reportedly said. One of the most recent cases was 18-year-old Andres Guardado.
According to family members, he was simply working as a security guard at an auto body shop when he was shot and killed by Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputies.
An LA County Sheriff's whistleblower claimed the deputy who shot Guardado was trying to get into the alleged law enforcement gang known as the Executioners, but it wasn't just Gonzalez.
An explosive CBS News investigation looks into alleged gangs of deputies inside the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Our investigation found these deputies are allegedly encouraged to shoot people as part of their initiation.
These deputies do not want to be identified for fear of reprisal.
It's based out of East LA, but you know members that have become banditos in East LA have been promoted and they've spread all over the county.
How do they identify themselves?
With a tattoo.
Is there an initiation process to join the gang?
You could say that. They could go from you getting a shooting or, you know, they do anything for these guys.
You said they get shootings. What do you mean by that?
If you get in a shooting, that's a definite brownie point. There's been multiple occasions where they say, hey, we got a guy that has a gun and he's running from us. In reality, that person never had a gun.
Never had a gun. But there's something that happened. 14 years ago, a mother used public humiliation as punishment. Take a look at this. So I got a lot to say about public shaming and public punishment. And I really do got a lot to say here, so take a look.
A single mother says she's at her wit's end with her children's behavior, and she says that discipline isn't working. So she's trying a new tactic, one that anyone driving by on 132nd and Grover can see. KETV Newswatch 7's Marla Raby is live here in the Newsplex with that story.
Christina Wilcox says she's tried it all and that her kids still won't behave. So she has them holding signs at the busy intersection saying what they've done wrong. Now, she hopes by having them stand out on the streets, they'll learn a lesson that they won't forget.
They'll learn by embarrassment. They'll learn.
Christina Wilcox sits and watches her children serve their punishment at the corner of 132nd Street and Grover.
I've tried grounding them and disciplining them in every other form and way, and this is the only way that I can see to get through them.
Says I'll never have a girlfriend. I can't respect my mom.
7-year-old Mason is being punished for stealing.
He started down the wrong road of thieving and then lying about it. He's a thief from a couple of friends from a store before, and I just don't want it to proceed.
Christina says 5-year-old Elizabeth is following in her big brother's footsteps, so she holds a sign too.
Then they're not going to want to do it again, so there'll be no more lying and no more thieving.
Some drivers think she's got the right idea. Others don't.
You're a horrible parent.
Christina says everyone's got the right to their own opinion, but she says she doesn't know what else to do.
I mean, it's our parents' responsibility, but timeouts, I'm a single mom of 3, and I work full-time and everything else, so timeouts and everything else don't always work.
But does embarrassment do the trick?
It doesn't bother me standing out here doing this.
Dustin says he's not fazed by the punishment, but admits it's got him thinking.
Well, I've been trying to work on being more respectful and not yelling at my mom and not arguing with her.
Now, the kids were out holding those signs for about 45 minutes yesterday, and then about an hour this evening. Christina says this is the last time they're going to be holding those signs. She says she thinks they've got the message.
All right, Marla, thank you. You're welcome.
I don't got a lot to say here, but like everyone says, everyone's telling their opinion, and really, if my fans were on the street, if my fans were kids and the parents, and they made them freaking holding up signs, I would say, hey, put down the signs right now. What if you tried? I'll whip the signs out of their hands, make them leave. Because you got no right public shaming your kids out in the damn street. Sorry. But how about in the workplace? Let's watch a short clip. That's not going to happen here. But there is we can focus in on public shaming in the workplace or humiliation in the workplace. Really, I want to focus on public shaming as discipline. But here's the boss offers accused Steve public shaming.
There were two options, public shaming or jail time. That is the offer that a Conroe employer made to the teenager accused of stealing from his business. And sure enough, that 17-year-old took option A, choosing to stand on a street corner holding a sign that reads, "I stole and I lied to my boss. This is to keep my head right." Our Jennifer Bauer joining us live now on that very same corner with the story. Jen, the lesson here seems to be don't bite the hand that feeds you.
That's exactly right. And the team stood out here in the heat for several hours today. His boss says he may be back out here again tomorrow. For 4 hours today, Mark Anthony Doyle stood on this Montgomery County corner. His sign says, "I stole and lied to my boss. This is to keep my head right." The 17-year-old was also forced to wear a pink shirt and lipstick.
And I said, look, man, you have two options. You can either deal with Montgomery County, go to jail, or this is what I come up with.
Brent Franklin owns a local construction company, and Mark Anthony has worked for him for the last year. This summer, he invited the team to live with him so he could mentor him, help him get his life on track, and help him save money. Franklin says Mark Anthony has had a troubled childhood.
And I wanted to help him out, he worked his butt off for me.
But after a few days out of town, Franklin says he returned home to find a damaged Rolex watch and several $1,000s worth of high-end items missing. He says Mark Anthony not only stole from him, but then lied about it. And this is his punishment.
I earned it. I shouldn't have stolen, I shouldn't have lied. I think he's a good kid, I think he just made a mistake, and, this is just going to be a tough lesson for him to learn.
And tonight, Brent tells us he is still going to allow Mark Anthony to work for him and gain his trust back. We're live in Montgomery County. I'm Jennifer Bauer, KPRC, Channel 2 News.
Jennifer, thank you. As you might imagine, this story has generated an awful lot of feedback on our KPRC Facebook page. We invite you to join in the conversation. Just go to Facebook/KPRC2, share your comments, and then share the story with your friends if you'd like.
I got a lot to say about this, but here's an example from Ray Williams Johnson.
You are not going to agree with me on this one, but that's okay. I am open to you being wrong.
That's so mean. I am a bully. Give me your hate bullies.
Boo parents.
Dude, that's so foul.
I want to yell at the parents.
Now, I am all for bullies getting what they deserve. However, data is starting to show us that statistically, publicly humiliating your kid as a form of punishment doesn't work. The only thing it accomplishes is it gets applause from other parents. Yeah, now that's what I call discipline, which I'm sure you'll see parents doing that in the comment section of this video. Now, I'm not saying these parents are bad people. I'm saying statistically, this doesn't change the kid's behavior, and it can mess up his mental health long term. Now, I blurred out the kid's face because it felt like the right thing to do, but the kid's like 10. How many nerds did he stuff in lockers? How many wedgies did he have to give before we got to the point where we needed to humiliate him publicly? But hey, I'm just an asshole comedian on the internet. What do I know? Are there any like psychologists or child psychologists on TikTok who can weigh in on this? Tag them for me.
I can weigh in on this. It's everyone's opinion. If you want to punish your kids out in the street, cool. If you don't, knock your lights out. There are other forms of discipline out there. Spanking doesn't work because it confuses the child and teaches them nothing. Timeouts work. 1 minute per year of age. Reprimands in a strong voice. It's going to work, but you have to keep doing it. Take away grounding. You may try grounding. You're taking away a privilege. That happens in schools. Students misbehave. Let me take it. Turn it around here. Students misbehave at school, and they say, well, I got to go to a game tonight. And so, really, half a day in school suspension and taking away a privilege. That seems to work also. But what you really have here are, what we're going to talk about here is just public shaming for kids. And there is a lot more to talk about here. I have time to play you one more clip.
A disturbing new trend that appears to be on the rise. Parents filming themselves, punishing their unruly children, and then posting the child-shaming videos online. Is this creative parenting or cruel and abusive discipline? Take a look. Decide for yourself.
Do you want this Xbox or you want this ass? You want to keep the Xbox?
A dad drives over his son's Xbox after he's caught stealing.
Let me see your report card. He ain't got no good grades, bro. He ain't used F's. That's how he going to school today since they want to show out.
These boys getting humiliating haircuts for bringing home bad report cards. And this mom gave her unruly son a gift just so she could immediately take it back to the store.
You gonna learn your lesson from this?
Parents are filming their kids' punishments and then posting them online in a troubling new child-shaming trend.
Don't do stuff that we tell you to do. You don't have to. And this.
You're 13, so why does your Facebook page say that you're 19?
In Denver, this 13-year-old is being publicly shamed by her mother for posting racy photos, and her mother's rant went viral.
Speak to that camera and tell them you still watch Disney Channel.
In Georgia, fed-up mother of 5, Deborah Smith, shot her son's cell phone to pieces in a now viral video. Smith lost custody of 2 of her children a year later after she refused to stop using deadly weapons in front of the children. And in Virginia,
this right here is just old school simple parenting.
Brian Thornhill forced his 10-year-old son to run a mile to school in the rain for being a bully and live streamed the punishment on Facebook. The video has been viewed over 32 million times and has sparked a national debate over this dad's controversial parenting tactic.
This ain't killing nobody. This is a healthy way for a child to be punished.
And joining us now to discuss this disturbing trend is Dr. Phil. So Dr. Phil, when it comes to parents out there, they're posting their punishment of their children's behavior on the internet. How is that crossing the line?
Well, it's crossing the line because as parents, we're supposed to put our children's interest ahead of our own. And this is not in the child's best interest. What you're doing is holding them up to ridicule. And if you're putting something on the internet on Monday that's going to affect how this child is reacted to on Tuesday when they go to school, then you shouldn't do it. And that's exactly what's happening when these parents are putting this out for the public to view.
And Dr. Phil, there are a lot of people out there that believe this behavior by parents is in fact bullying towards their kids. What do you think?
I think it is bullying because the parent has all the control here. They have all the power here. And sometimes made to do something that's embarrassing. So they are being bullied. They would not do this voluntarily, and it's not helpful for them. So I do think it's bullying.
What do you think compels parents out there to want to put this punishment online and also show the reaction of their children? But you just mentioned oftentimes you're so embarrassed.
We have gotten so narcissistic, Jesse. I mean, everybody thinks they have to have an audience for everything these days. And what the parent is doing is making it about them and not about their child. And I think it's just too narcissistic, and we're so much focused on having an audience for everything we do.
Whatever happened to the just, you're grounded for a week, or no video games now for you? Do those punishments not work anymore?
They do work, but the problem is we have such a rich environment for children now, it's hard to take everything away. So here's what you have to do. Find out what the child's currency is. Control that one thing and say, that thing that's important to you, you're losing access to if you misbehave in this way, and you have to earn it back. So control their currency, you'll control the behavior.
Dr. Phil, thank you so much for being here and providing your insight on a disturbing new trend.
That's the whole key here. That's commando parenting. Tighten the child's nuts and bolts back to normal. That's commando parenting. Follow through with discipline. Find the child's currency. Video games, Xboxes, TVs. And make them understand, this is important to me. I have to earn it by showing good performance. If I do something bad, my parents take it away. That's the whole point. But your child needs a roof over his or her head, food, water. You're required by law of your state to provide your child with a warm, dry place to live, food, medical care, and educational opportunities. You need to make sure your child goes to school. The child does not need Xboxes, TVs, guitars, posters, video games, whatever. What the child needs is a room with a bed, a pillow, and a blanket. That's it. 2 shirts, one for one day and one for the other day. Two pairs of shirts, 2 pairs of shorts, and 1 pair of shoes. And you think I'm quoting Dr. Phil? You're damn right. I took his advice, and there's a lesson to be learned that when you choose the behavior, you choose the consequences. And for you parents publicly shaming your kids out there, when you choose to publicly shame your kids, you're choosing for your kids to be bullied in school. And who is the bully here in these public shaming videos? You are. You're the parent, and you're publicly shaming your kids. That means you are the bully. You're the bully here. And you may think that, oh, I'm doing this for love. This ain't love. This is just affecting your child. I don't even know how to say this, but according to the experts, they're right here. If you publicly shame me, I would hate you forever. That's how I would feel. But this ain't over yet. Coming up on the second half, more about publicly shaming. More on these public shaming / public punishments, including a teen who stole indoors. And experts who say social media shaming could be more damaging. Also, is there a link between government and obesity? How to get fat without really trying. That's on the second half of the show. So that's it for the second half. That's it for the first half of the show. I'll see you again on the second half where we deal with more public shaming and how to get fat without really trying. Have a nice day, everyone. I'll see you guys tonight.